Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Sports Stuff video. Today, we're talking about the LA Chargers and their offseason plan to rebuild this team and truly become a Super Bowl contender. With Justin Herbert, they've had multiple playoff appearances, never really gotten over that hump. I don't even think they've won a playoff game yet. But with John Harbaugh, I truly do believe that this team is closer to a Super Bowl than many people will think. So, how can I turn this team from a playoff contender to a Super Bowl contender? Let's do it. So, entering free agency, you have cuts and or trades. You have $63 million. That's a great number to go into with cuts or trades. The only guy I'm going to be cutting is Trey Pipkins, your current starting offensive lineman. He has 58 PFF grade, 50 pass blocking, 64 run blocking. He allowed 6 sacks last season. He was abysmal in every fashion. The last few seasons, I'm shocked that Trey Pipkins has been able to last on this roster longer than he has. He gets starts every game, and I just don't understand how. You save $7 million cutting him, and you use that to reinvest in the offense. I'm sorry, Trey Pipkins, you're the only guy I don't see making it on this roster next year. I really don't get it. I don't get how he's always on this team. I mean, this dude's really bad. He is really bad, and he is always on this team starting games. So we're probably going to cut Trey Pipkins, save $7 million against the cap. Next, you have restructures. No restructures again. They have a lot of cap space. I don't want to push any money down the line if I don't need to. So that means entering re-signings. We have $70 million of money in re-signings. And the first guy I want to re-sign is going to be Asante Samuel Jr. Last season had 12 tackles, 0 interceptions, 4 run stops, and 1 pass breakup. He did miss 13 games last year due to injury, so those stats are in 4 games. But currently they say he's dealing with a stinger issue in his shoulder. And the minute I hear a stinger issue in a shoulder on a corner, I think of really Greedy Williams, and that's why he's out of the league now. Like, I'm pretty sure Greedy Williams is either in the UFL or he's in the CFL. But I loved Greedy Williams coming out of LSU. And the minute he got a stinger issue in his shoulder, his career was over. Never rebounded. So I am a little worried. I don't want to put too much money into Asante Samuel long term, but I for sure want him back next season. So we give him a 2-year deal. He was a number 1 corner for this team for years. So I'm gonna give him short term, lots of guaranteed money, but not any long term, 4, 5, 6 years from now money. Because if that stinger issue is real and he can't go back to his, fringe Pro Bowl level, then I don't want to tie up money in year 3 or 4. I'm cool with the 2-year deal. I have an out after 1 year if that shoulder hasn't healed up. So I gave him a 2-year, $23 million deal, $16 million guaranteed at 69% guaranteed. Again, it is only because he missed a year due to an injury that the last time a corner had a stinger issue that I can remember, Greedy Williams is out of the league now. So I'm gonna give him money. We're going to see what happens, and if he can come back and play really well after year 1, I would absolutely redo this contract, give him a 3-4 year extension. But just to be safe, I'm giving him basically a 1-year deal that next year we're going to have an out if we need to. Next, we have Josh Palmer at wide receiver. Josh Palmer, 39 receptions, 584 yards, and a touchdown. He has really developed into a solid check down for Justin Herbert. He showed a lot of flashes to be a glue receiver. He's not going to be a 1,000-yard receiver. He's not going to have 10 touchdowns a year, but he's going to be that 500 to 800 receiver, 2 to 4 touchdowns a year in his prime when Justin Herbert's throwing the ball around. He's great in the intermediate game. Again, as I said, I think he'd easily be a consistent 6 to 800-yard guy. You can always want those guys on your team that are just really good when they get the ball, get to yardage, and then get down. So I give him a 3-year, $21.5 million deal, $17 million guaranteed at 79% guaranteed. Again, with Quentin Johnston redeveloping, because he has to redevelop his entire game, Ladd McConkey going into his sophomore season, and I do invest in a wide receiver in the draft. I did Josh Palmer. You know what? Let's get you. Let's make sure we have 3 wide receivers on roster that if they need to start week 1 because a rookie isn't ready, that I can trust Josh Palmer to be probably the best wide receiver going into week 1. Then next we have J.K. Dobbins. I'm going to be re-signing J.K. Dobbins to a multi-year contract. Last year had 195 carries for 905 yards and 9 touchdowns. Finally had a relatively healthy season and he was great. He did miss a couple of games last year, but I mean on 195 carries, getting 905 yards, that is elite. That's like 7 or 8 yards of carry. Elite. On 9 touchdowns as well. Showed why I was a highly touted running back in the draft when he came out. Former 2nd round pick. He was on my fantasy team. I love J.K. Dobbins. He's been one of my favorite guys going into the coming out of Ohio State, and this injury bug has constantly hindered him. He's always played great in Baltimore when healthy. I see them retaining him for a long time, rotation back. Honestly, Gus Edwards is also a free agent. I don't re-sign him. I think J.K. Dobbins has a higher floor than Gus Edwards, and J.K. Dobbins again. I do think I am going to invest very heavily in the draft in a running back. so J.K. Dobbins can be that rotation back with the rookie I'm going to be drafting, so J.K. Dobbins doesn't need to carry the load that he did last year when he was healthy. Let's give him like 8 to 15 carries a game, and the main back like 12 to 20 carries a game. And that's why I think the number is going to have to stay steady on J.K. Dobbins. Because if he can do like 8 carries for 44 yards a game, and that's the rest of that's his next season, that is great. I would love that for J.K. Dobbins. I think he has the explosiveness to do that. So J.K. Dobbins, I gave him a 2-year, $7.5 million deal, $5 million guaranteed at 66% guaranteed. And that's all the re-signs I'm going to be doing. That means Khalil Mack hits free agency. That means multiple offensive guys hit free agency as well. But in free agency, we now have $50 million of money. And let's just say I splurge a little bit. Cody Barton, linebacker from the Denver Broncos, I give him a 2-year deal. Last year had 69 tackles, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 32 run stops, and 14 pressures. He's a solid linebacker in his prime right now. Again, like I said in the video a few videos ago, he has always been one of those guys. I thought when he got into the right system would thrive, whether it was with Seattle or Washington or with Denver. I knew eventually he'd have a year where he was really good. Had a great year for Denver. Great coverage linebacker with a nose for the ball in the run game. I can see him holding down the line with this linebacker core. I gave him a 2-year, $13.5 million deal, $8.5 million guaranteed at 63%. Junior Colson last year was a 3rd-round pick, so I do think that Junior Colson is going to get meaningful minutes. But Cody Barton, Junior Colson, I like that pairing. Junior Colson also a good run defender, so him and Cody Barton can definitely shore up that run defense. Then I'm going to be getting another guy that can help shore up the run defense in Milton Williams. He had 12 tackles, 6 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 12 run stops, and 40 pressures last year. He's been a great 3-4 defensive end for years now. Coming off a Super Bowl title, he fits the window of this team. I believe he's only 25 years old, so I give him a multi-year deal. He's an elite pass rusher who's a really good run defender as well, but mainly gets his money off of pass rushing ability that he showed in limited snaps. He still had 6 sacks. So I gave him a 4-year, $51 million deal, $33 million guaranteed at 65%. So he got a Super Bowl. Now he gets his money, and he gets a true starting position. I think that's everything that Milton Williams would want, especially in Los Angeles where he can play all year in the sun. Next, we have Derek Nottie from the Kansas City Chiefs. Last year had 8 tackles, 0 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, 3 run stops, and 1 pressure. He was injured most of this last season, but in the games that he did play, he's always been a good rotation nose tackle, D tackle for Kansas City. So again, when he does play, he's a high rotation guy. He moves all across the defensive line for them, and he plays whatever role the team asks of him to do. So I think I love a dude that buys into culture and will do whatever the defensive coach asks him to do. And I think Harbaugh would absolutely use that for his advantage. So Derek Nottie, I'm going to give him a 2-year, $7.5 million deal, $5.5 million guaranteed at 73%. And I think either he starts for you or he's a high rotation guy like he was for Kansas City the last couple of seasons. Then finally, I'm going to be signing Marcus Davenport. Again, really reinvest in this defensive line because I let Khalil Mack go. I want to reinvest as much as I can in this defensive line to make sure it gets even better than it was last year. But Marcus Davenport had 1 tackle, 1 sack, and 7 pressures last year. Unfortunately, he had a season-ending injury after week 2 last year, so it really sucks. I thought, Marcus Davenport in Detroit was a really good fit. There's a chance he could go back to Detroit. I thought him and Aiden Hutchinson would have been a really good pairing, but they both ended up getting hurt. Was having a good start to the year. So because of that injury, you're going to get him for cheap on a 1-year rebound contract, kind of what the Lions were doing with him after his time in New Orleans, in Minnesota 2 years ago. But now you get him for even cheaper because of that injury. Let him get his money next offseason for someone. Let him come over to LA. Doesn't need to play starting minutes day 1. You can ease him back into the rotation. And again, if you can get even 5 or 6 sacks out of Marcus Davenport for $4 million and then a comp pick next year, that's absolutely worth it. So then going into the draft, you get $26 million basically of cap space, and we use it pretty effectively, right? You fix the defensive line. You add a dominant linebacker and D tackle. Like, all the signs on defense. Because this offense, I want to build through the draft. I want to build young and shore up with veterans on 1-2-year deals to ensure Justin Fields getting the most that he can get. So because of what I did invest heavily in the offense in the draft. And as you guys can see, it's all over the board. So at number 22, grabbing Kenneth Grant from Michigan to be a D tackle of the future. He's a great run stuffer. I think him next to Milton Williams for the future, with Milton being that really good pass rusher and good run stopper, next to a dominant run stopper, would be elite. Last year, I also had a career high 23 pressures, so he's not nothing on pass rushing, but his calling card is run defense. I fully expect him to be a home run hit late in the draft. Like, whatever team gets him past pick 20 is going to be happy that they drafted him. Then number 54, grabbing Xavier Restrepo, another wide receiver out of Miami. We're going to be adding to this offense. He's a great slot and a great deep threat guy for Justin Herbert. I think him and Ladd McConkey, you can move around different positions on the offensive side of the ball to mess with defenses. He has a blazing, I thought he had blazing speed, but he only ran a 4.58 speed. That was low and shocking, so I wonder if there was maybe an injury hindering him, or he just didn't run it really well. But listen, film is going to help him. Xavier Restrepo was a really good wide receiver at Miami in the last 2 years. I don't see him not being a second-round pick. I just think with the current weapons you have, Xavier Restrepo fits perfectly for this offense. Then at number 86, grabbing R.J. Harvey out of UCF. R.J. Harvey, great runner. He bounces off tackles really well. Had 32 carries last year of 15-plus yards. That was second in college football, only behind Ashton Janty. He ran a 4.4 flat 40, so he has really good speed, bounces off tacklers. He averages over 6 yards a carry, which is very, very good. Every year he's played in college football, he's averaged over 6 yards a carry. A lot of people are saying his comp is Devon Achane, and man, that could be useful behind a smaller offensive line. Like, this offensive line is ready to compete, and Joe Alt and Zion Johnson and Rashawn Slater, like, this offensive line is good and ready to compete, and RJ Harvey behind them with J.K. Dobbins as well, 2 home run hitters, that would be powerful. Then at 122, grabbing Billy Bowman Jr. out of Oklahoma. Bowman, he played strong safety, free safety, and nickel corner. He had 10 coverage stops and 9 run stops last year, so he's a willing run defender and pass defender. He had a 4.42 speed at the combine. He's a big hitter, so I like him because of his versatility he can bring you in your defense, but also a heavy hitter with great speed, so he can even blitz for you if you really needed to. I love that in a safety that can move all over the field. Then at 158, you guys know I love him, Kobe King. Great run defending linebacker. I still see him being a day 2 guy, but if they're going to keep mocking him going into day 3, I'm going to keep taking him. I think he's going to play very early in his career, and we're going to be shocked that he was a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick. But again, I truly believe he'll end up being a 3rd round pick. I stand by that. Then at number 168, grabbing Jalen Conyers from Texas Tech. He's an A-plus run blocker, and for this offense, run blocking is important. So he might be the best in the class at run blocking, so I grab him at 180 to ensure I have a run blocking tight end. He's also a great dump-off option for Justin Herbert. Last year, had 5 touchdowns on 300 yards, so he doesn't need the targets to produce. If you just give him, let's just say, 20 to 30 targets in the season, and you can get 200 yards and 2 touchdowns out of him, that is an A-plus pick at 180 with how he can run block. Then at 197, grab an overpowered corner at Jason Marshall Jr. out of Florida. He's a big body corner. He's 6'1". He can run defend. He's definitely not going to be a starter. I think he's a high rotation guy. He tends to get beat downfield, so I would have him play power nickel at 6'1", and it's run defend. He has a really good niche for knowing where the run game is going, and put him at nickel corner and just have him as an oversized nickel corner. He doesn't rover, right? He's not Kyle Hamilton. He's not Devon Witherspoon. But I think Jason Marshall can just sit at the nickel corner spot and push the guys into the linebacker core, and it's run defense. Then at 209, grabbing Fadil Diggs out of Syracuse. Fadil, he's a great rotation pass rusher, pure get to the quarterback guy. He is lackluster in the run defense. That's why in certain situations, Fadil Diggs can go out there and play for you. He has off-ball experience too, but he has great speed, his great arm length as well at the combine. I was very shocked how well Fadil Diggs measured. He's a little short and, weighs a little less than I thought he would, but when it comes to arm length, when it comes to hand length, when it comes to speed, his bending as well on those drills, I was very shocked at how good Fadil Diggs looked. And if you can get him at 209, that's a good pick for a dude who has some upside. Then at number 214, you know him, you love him, LaQuindon Jackson from Arkansas. I've been saying I love LaQuindon Jackson. He's Kareem Hunt mixed with Jamal Williams. A great power runner in short field plays. Again, another comp I have for him is an Eagles Boston Scott against the New York Giants. He will, for whatever reason, go off for 300 yards, and you're like, what the heck happened? Like, who is LaQuindon Jackson? How did he go off for 300 yards? That's the type of runner I think he can be in the NFL. Very powerful runner. He doesn't have great launch speed, but I'm telling you, if you're at like the 30-yard line and you're 30 yards away from the scoring a touchdown, give it to LaQuindon Jackson. He will bulldoze multiple guys to get to the touchdown. Then number 219, taking a shot on Marcus Ware from Montana State. Small school guy. He played well when he was needed. He has let up no sacks in his career and only 7 pressures. He's 6'4", 300, so maybe he can add some weight, but I do trust that he can develop. This is potentially a steal. A dude who played at Montana State, played a lot as well. He played a lot of snaps, and he never let up a sack. Listen, ball knows ball, and Marcus Ware has a chance to really be a steal in the 7th round. Then Bryce Cabeldue, I don't know, Bryce from Kansas. He's 6'6", 315. You know from my mock drafts, I love taking big, tall tackles late in the draft and see what happens. He's a good run blocker, solid pass blocker. He did play poor against the best competition on their schedule, so we'll see what happens. Again, it's a 7th round pick. If you lose out on a 7th round pick, you're not too hurt. But yeah, that is my mock draft. I really like it. You get a lot of high-end starters and a lot of high-end rotation guys with some depth guys that can play rotationally and, maybe in case of injury, you feel comfortable with them playing. But mostly in free agency, getting a lot of defensive linemen because I feel good in their secondary, but the defensive line, I want to keep improving. And then re-signing a lot of offensive players that are currently free agents and investing heavily in offense in the draft on a run blocker, running backs, wide receiver, and then adding Kenneth Grant at number 22, I think is great. If you guys enjoy, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit notification bell to be notified when I post next. And again, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think and what you would do if you were fixing the Los Angeles Chargers. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later. Peace and bye!